Afternoon, everyone. So a very warm virtual welcome to you all from the, I suppose, looking out the window here, not so very sunny southeast today. So we hope everyone is keeping safe and well. And also a very warm welcome to our speakers today. So Michael Holton and William Colfer of Kent Stainless, and to my colleague on the Southeast Committee, Larlette, who is chairing today's talk. My name is Colin Callery. I'm chair of the Southeast Region Committee of Engineers Ireland. And on behalf of the Southeast Region, I'm delighted to welcome you to today's webinar. So it's Kent Stainless, Engineering, Manufacturing and Innovation in Today's Challenging Environment. So before we kick off and I'll hand you over to Lara, just a little background on our webinar series. So today is the 10th in our series, which we've been running since last September. So our webinar series is a free CPD series. It's open to everyone, aiming to promote the positive impact engineers in our region have on our everyday lives across a range of engineering disciplines and areas of expertise. So to date, we've had a very diverse range of webinars, so a brilliant and varied series so far. And we've given nearly 800 CPD hours for all attendees. And so we've another 70 people registered today with us, so that's fantastic. So we're delighted to have Michael and William with us today to give us an insight into another Southeast success story in manufacturing and engineering. So Kent Stainless have been in operation since 1982 and are now both a local and international supplier of a high quality range of stainless products. And today they employ a skilled workforce in excess of 140 personnel. So without further ado, I'll hand you over to my colleague on committee, Larlette, who will share today's talk and introduce our speakers. Thank you.
Thanks, Colin. Good afternoon, everybody. I'm just going to, as Colin just said, I'll give a quick company introduction and then I'll introduce both speakers, both Michael and William. Okay, so Kent Stainless was formed in the early 1980s as a general fabrication company, initially working from a small base in Clonard, County Wexford. The company was manufacturing railings, handling equipment, and general construction metalworks. However, a shift in focus in the early 90s to take advantage of the pharmaceutical industry investment in County Cork led to the development of a full range of stainless steel process waste drainage systems. A shift to a larger premises in 1986 was followed again by a second location shift in 1995 to the current premises in Ardcavan, just outside of Wexford town. This shift to niche stainless steel products was a seismic change for the company and is the backbone of its continued growth to this day. Those same products are still being manufactured and used all around the globe in the USA, Singapore, and far-flung as Nairobi and Kenya. Over the decades, new products have constantly been developed, like the dewatering equipment, grease interceptors, hygienic drainage, pneumatic drains, while new markets have also opened up primarily in the Middle East. Coupled with this own product, this own brand product development has been the ability to work on large scale infrastructure projects at home, namely Dublin Airport, Lewis, and inside sites, and abroad in the likes of Lusail City in Qatar, Wembley Stadium, and King's Cross in London. Both contract and OEM manufacturing also began in the early 2000s and today makes up for over 30% of the company's turnover by manufacturing and assembling product for multinational IDA companies. Research and development continues to be at the forefront of growth, and investment continues in equipment and human resources on an annual basis. The next decade will see Kent Stainless onboarding with robotic automation companies and move into bio-waste processing and waste handling industry, as well as continuing to grow own brand and large-scale project deliveries. Our first speaker will be William Colfer. William is a senior sales manager for both the Middle East and North Africa. William has been with Kent Stainless since 2004, working on both public realm projects in Ireland, the UK and the Middle East, as well as pharmaceutical projects in the UK, Philippines, US and Middle East also. Our second speaker will be Michael Holton. Michael is the Operations Director. Michael joined Kent Stainless in 2020, bringing a wealth of industry experience and knowledge. Michael is hugely influential in steering the course and future growth of the company through capacity management and resource planning. I'd like to now invite William to speak first and begin the presentation. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Lar. I'm going to share my screen now, so just let me know if there's any issues with that. But thanks for the introduction. Very thorough, very on the ball. I don't think you missed too much there. So look, just to reiterate some of the things that Lar and Colin said there. We're a well-established company. You know, we've been around since the 80s, but a push in the early 90s into stainless steel, specifically stainless steel fabrication, and with that, designing our own range of products. But been driven all the time by our customers, been driven all the time by consultant engineers, and in the last kind of 10-15 years by landscape architect specialists into developing customized products, really to basically to help with engineering kind of issues on site and come up with something that solves a specific problem on a specific site. And it drives our production team absolutely crazy here. It drives them mad because we're constantly designing things, making them once, and that's it. We move on to the next project. So we do have a couple of divisions that, you know, manufacture repeat things, but where the growth in the company has been over the last 10-15 years has been that customized range, and is really driven by, as Lauren said there, public realm and external works. So streetscapes in London, streetscapes for councils in Ireland, mainly is really what is driving our design and driving our growth for the company. Okay, so just to give you a quick overview, look, in normal times, you know, we love bringing people to the factory here. We love doing factory tours and walking people around and showing them all the facilities we've got here. Unfortunately, we can't do that at present, so this is, you know, the best we can do at the moment. So just to give you an idea of the kind of scale of the factory and the scale of the operation here, this is just outside of Wexford. So our office block, main office, which is obviously, you know, where you've got admin and sales and engineering. We've got about 30 people in engineering, which is, you know, really differentiates us from a lot of our competitors. And those guys are constantly being upskilled and added to, and Michael will talk about that a bit more. The main fabrication plant then is this large white building, which you see. At the moment, we're actually updating the front of the building, and you might hear some construction work in the background there. So that's actually ongoing at the moment. So we're actually giving the building a bit of a facelift there at the minute. Again, what I suppose sets us apart from many of our competitors is our ability to keep pretty much all of our processes in-house. The only real process that we don't have in-house is kind of powder coating or painting. But other than that, we do everything from design all the way through to the final logistics is kept in-house. So things like lasers, brake pressing, deburring the raw material, turning it into finished products, it's all done in-house. A thing we really pride ourselves is the finish of our product. You know, we're not happy unless a product is finished to the highest possible degree. So again, in-house, we've got electropolishing facilities, manual sheet polishing, automated sheet polishing as well. A secondary fabrication area, which was just finished kind of towards the end of 2020, and surrounding that, we've done a huge amount of civils works just to allow you know, free movement of trucks and forklifts and that kind of thing around the building. So that's, you can just make out the roof of that building. Another area for polishing, for pipe polishing, which in itself is kind of a specialized skill, and then bead blasting, which is another type of finish, again is a specialized skill. So we are unique in a way that we have all these different processes under one roof, under one company. Okay, so some of the areas, and some of you might be familiar with these type of processes. And I suppose the big thing that our owner Pat Kent has always done over the years is investing in this equipment. So in the last couple of years, we've invested in new sheet laser cutting. So this is a pretty new machine that's gone in, and what that allows us to do is basically, you know, cut things like sheet and box section and round shapes, pipes, tubes, and it's all part of the design and fabrication process. So while we take an idea from an architect, an engineer, a landscape architect, and turn it into a reality, we're using all this equipment all the time. The brake press was another investment in the last couple of years. Again, it's just allowing you more flexibility on what you can actually produce and what you can actually fabricate and what you can actually put out the door. So it's always allowing us, you know, better tolerances on our products, better finish on our products, and that's the whole idea of investing in this equipment. So constantly looking to improve what we actually put out the door. Okay, so Just some of the other equipment that then again that is relatively unique. This pickling and passivating plant is the only one in Ireland for stainless steel. So when we have finished all the welding, welding obviously generates heat. You have things like scorch marks and manufacturing marks on the product. We then dip it in this plant, which takes away all that marks for final finishes, for final finish. So the areas we work in, and the one area I'm really going to speak about today is civils landscapes. But just to be aware, we do work in a range of areas. Civils landscapes has been really for the last 10-15 years has been the growth driver of the business. When I started, we had a turnover of about 300,000 euros in this division. In 2019, it was about 3.5 million euros. So it's been a huge growth in the past 10 years. And that, it's driven by public realm improvements, mainly in London, but also in Ireland, especially in the last 5 years. We've seen a lot of projects in Ireland, and really what councils and what we're seeing from developers is that they're trying to open up public realm areas now, so make them more accessible, have shared surfaces so that they're usable for everybody. And the big thing we've seen, which is can be quite a simple thing, but you're trying to hide services within the public realm and hide them either underground or within the finished surface level. And really that's what's driven our business, and it's down to about 5 or 6 products. So things like access covers, ventilation grills, in-ground power units, planters for planting areas, and they're really the areas that have grown. And signage is another big thing. When you look at them from the outside, it can seem quite simple, but when you see how not to do it and how to do it properly, there is such a massive difference. It makes such a massive difference to the final project. So what we've seen, as I said, from developers, and just a real push from specialized landscape architects in the last 10 years to really make these public realm and external areas, make them accessible to everybody. And that's really where our innovation, and I'll show you we're literally going to show you a couple of products just to show how that innovation comes about, and just to give you examples of how we develop that kind of innovation, specifically within civils landscapes. We're also working in the pharmaceutical industry. As I said, our history is in pharmaceutical, but that's still going on to today. So just to show you, I suppose, for a real life example, it's a very simple example, but it's something that I think opens people's eyes to a lot of things. Like I said, we're working on projects where you're resurfacing or repaving a large open area, making it more accessible to the public. And our thought process, I suppose, is always working with the landscape architect to make sure we reduce the visual impact as much as possible within this area. So a very typical kind of layout of ductile iron covers here, but what you might not have noticed is the recessed stainless steel cover here. So while it's quite a simple product for us to manufacture and design, its impact is major but it comes really from the design. It's design led. It has to start from the very beginning. So we will get in on projects very early. We're seeing now from landscape architects, they're actually issuing drawings for the paving layout in public realms. So there will be, the cut lines for the paving will be there, and then we're matching into those paving lines. Again, it's quite simple, but just has such an impact that you're doing away with this kind of cast iron and the visual impact that has. So, like I said, a very simple product, but has led us into much more complicated products, which I'll show you towards the end of the presentation. But this is what we're always trying to achieve. So our products are almost hidden as much as possible within the paving and within that public realm area. So this is just a very simple recessed access cover, but when done properly, it just looks so well. And for your client, for your county council, for your final user, it just makes such a huge difference. So the geography that we work in the areas we work in, Ireland, the UK, obviously are major markets, but we are exporting to the Middle East and North America as well. Some key facts and figures, that 138 employees has actually increased slightly in the last, only the last 2 weeks. So we're up to about 144 employees at the minute, averaging about somewhere between 14-15 million euros per year for the last 4 to 5 years. Still a family-owned company, and unusually in our industry, the managing director is a woman, which is unusual, but it's a breath of fresh air having an MD as a woman, I can tell you that. And we've got distributors in 4 continents. So although a family-owned company, really punching above our weight, I suppose, in what we do. So I'm going to hand over to Michael now, who's going to talk about kind of skill supply and some of the challenges we've seen there. I come back in then for another 10 or 15 minutes just to show you some kind of innovation in products and just have a chat about those. So, Michael, if you can take over there, I'm going to stop sharing.
Yeah, if you can stop sharing there, I'll push it through then. It's not giving me an option there at the moment. Should be able to see that coming through there now.
Yeah.
Yeah, very good. I'll kick on then. So I suppose as I said at the introduction, I'm with the company a little bit over a year now at this stage, and really to bring some operations experience to the company. It has grown rapidly over the last kind of 4 or 5 years. And what we want to do to progress to the next 5 or 6 years, we need to put in some good structures, some good training plans, and make sure we have the skills going forward in all areas. That slideshow is not working for me. Is that slideshow moving for you guys? No, it is now.
Yeah, I can see it moving now, Michael. Yeah.
All right. So I suppose, look, skills are a constant challenge for a company like ourselves, and the landscape is changing all the time. Technology and equipment and is moving, and it's developing at a very fast pace. And that's matched by more complex designs and more complex demands from customers. And again, we see that in the public realm area quite a lot, because we have to, integrate our manholes into cut lines and that kind of thing. And then complex design software is evolving all the time, and it is a very, I suppose, a tough challenge to keep up with that as we go. The trades and the manufacturing staff is a little bit easier in one respect. It's well supported in Ireland by apprenticeship schemes, and it's well resourced by the government, and the Irish apprenticeship industry has, it's world renowned for turning out very good tradespeople. The other area that's difficult for us, or that's a challenge, is kind of machine technicians and operators. Willie showed you the pictures there of the new laser machine. Again, that's a first of its kind in this country. And again, we have to train our operators to be top class on those machines so that we can exploit the full value of the machines. One of the difficulties we see there is the IoTs and FOSS and the ETBs. They're not able to keep pace with the leading manufacturers with that kind of technology and new technology. So there is a little bit of a struggle there. We get a lot of our training from the OEMs on that, and I would feel personally myself that the OEMs maybe don't put out enough of training material because it's a revenue source for them as well. So they're probably a little bit reluctant to share that training material with the Institutes of Technologies and the ETBs, and that's a challenge that I think we have to overcome at some point. I suppose when I talk about how do we structure training and how do we make sure we have all the skills we need, what we've done is we've broken down, I suppose, the whole process into 4 or 5 key areas. And one is supply chain, which is really material procurement, purchasing, logistics, dispatch and shipping. And the key elements there is planning, negotiating, stocks, logistics, deliveries, and really scheduling is now becoming a very key part to a manufacturing process. Lead times are getting shorter and demands are staying quite high. So scheduling is very, very important, and it's a supply chain issue. What we do then is we do material preparation and kitting. So like once you have material in, we have one team of people, I suppose, and we have it segregated off to where they do all of the pre-manufacturing operations. And this is where all your machine operation would come in. Like milling machines, lasers, sawing, drilling, and then we get kits ready so that once we send material across to the fabrication area, the guys are ready to go and they're not waiting on anything, and that can have a very a big impact on efficiencies, or not, as the case may be. Then our main area then would be farming and fabrication, and then again this is pretty much craft driven, especially the fabrication, because we're predominantly fabricate and welding is our core skills, and then assembly and testing after that. What we've done this year, I suppose this would have been a change, is we appointed a full-time trainer that stays with all the young apprentices and makes sure that they're getting very much the state-of-the-art training and getting a lot of personal attention over the first year or so that they're in the business. Metal finishing, assembly and test then is our fifth area. I kind of consider forming and fabrication kind of the one area. We have it broken out into 4 slides there, but metal finishing and assembly and test then is the last area. And again, it's technically driven. You know, we're seeing a lot of regulation, especially in the medical device and the pharma market at the moment as well. So look, testing is becoming, and test records becoming very, very important. You know, and there's a higher level of documentation needed, that kind of thing. So a lot of our products is backed up with full certificates of conformance and all of that, and that has to be trained in, and that has to be, I suppose, embedded in our processes, and everybody needs to be trained at that level. I suppose training then across all the departments. Within Kent, we would have 12 apprentices across the trades, mainly in fabrication, fitting and welding. As I said previously, we've appointed a full-time trainer who supports all of those guys and works with them through FOSS. What we do, we also bring in journeyman welders, and we train them up as well. They wouldn't necessarily go through the apprenticeship program. They would go through our own in-house kind of program, which is about a 22-week program to get them up to speed, and then they would be welders basically. Machine operating, and that's where the big difficulty is, and we have a difficulty attracting people in the kind of machine operation area. And the reason for that is that there's very little opportunities out there for people to get certified and get certs. So we're working with Carlo IT with a broader industrial base in the southeast to get some programs up there for kind of milling and drilling and laser cutting and folding and forming and all that type of stuff. One of the things that we're seeing is that element of the business, or that task, that kind of job area is falling between the cracks. People either want to go the apprentice route or they want to go down the route of an engineering. And the engineering, you know, when they come back, they don't want to be machine operating. And there is a gap there in the market that we really have to address over the next couple of years. You know, then we move up into the engineering area. You know, what we're doing this year is we have plans to implement a graduate program where we're going to take 2 engineering graduates in every year, and most likely May or June after they finish college, and possibly in their gap year as well, and try and build up a team of people that are familiar with Kent so we can draw on in future years when the need arises, you know. We've already teamed up with Maynooth University, and we're on our 2nd year of that program, and it's quite successful so far. We're looking to team up with 1 more now, or 2 more now in 2021, just to increase our engineering skills and get a better relationship with the colleges around. The other area then is professional development for managers and team leads. And what we're doing is focusing there on lean management and this whole area of employee engagement, lean management, a lean culture, and you know, a good, robust kind of cross-trained team where we, you know, try and just, I suppose, bring in a culture of engagement, and, you know, instead of people feeling like they're individuals within the organization, really get small manufacturing teams going and just try and increase the efficiency, increase the throughput, the same, and, you know, quicker at problem solving and all that kind of stuff. Within the SolidWorks, we have 4 advanced certified SolidWorks practitioners in Kent, and that's 4 out of only 100 in Ireland that have been certified in the last 10 years, you know, which we're very, very proud of, and we're very proud of our engineering team. We've currently have 1 person on a 6 Sigma problem solving course. We have 1 person doing a master's, and we have 1 person doing a supply chain degree. You know, so look at, in terms of professional development over the next 3, 4, 5 years, we're going to really up the game in that area there. And I think it's very important as customer demands stay very strong, and, you know, complexity of work is increasing all the time, and, you know, there is competition out there, and we have to stay ahead of the game. Specific manufacturing training requirements, you know, for lasers and brake presses and that. So look, we feel there's no real pathway for people in that area. I spoke about this already. So again, we're working with the IT Carlo on that and the Southeast companies. I feel that this puts recruitment at a disadvantage in that area there, and something that that we have to address as an industry. And one of the problems with that is, as technology advances, the problem solving and the capability skills of that cohort of people is changing. And I see it every year. We're struggling more and more to get the right people into that area. Like, I suppose, to future-proof Kents over the next 10 years, we need to focus really on having good, strong relationships with the local ETBs. You know, we need to develop trainers and mentors for fabricators, and just make sure that we're staying ahead of the game in terms of staying at the cutting edge of technology, which we are at the moment. You know, what we do need to do is create pathways for younger people coming into our organization, so that they can see themselves coming in at apprenticeship level and maybe developing into a quality or engineering or operations, you know, at some point in their career. And as long as we're offering that, I feel we can attract the right people to Kents. But it's something that we have to work at, you know. This would be a typical framework that we would work to. We have, and this is just in the fabrication area. So we have 4 tiers of fabrication, and those tiers will be based on complexity of work. And this would be one of the pathways we would show the younger guys coming in, so that they can transfer and they can kind of climb that pathway over a 4 to 5 year period, starting kind of on the left hand side and moving right across. We have this supported with up to 4 weeks formal training, and then 6 months of practice, and all of that practice would be supervised by the trainer. You know, so it's quite a good framework. We put a lot of work into it, and it does pay dividends. You know, we're seeing that already. We introduced this about last February, March, and it is quite good. You know, so look, other initiatives. Again, I suppose a big culture change was a dedicated one-man trainer in place since 2020. I suppose the development of new technologies and new processes around folding. We brought in a software package called Boost there about 2 years ago, and that has really changed the way that we manufacture products. So basically, what Boost will do is it will test every piece of every design before it goes to cutting and forming. So it has reduced the amount of waste and the amount of wrong parts by a considerable amount, you know, and that increases efficiency. We brought in precision machining, and we brought in more polishing equipment and capability over the last kind of 2 years or so. Most of this is customer driven. What we do is, you know, we see, especially in the public realm area, we do see look at increasing demands, and people need things to look nice. And that's really what's driving it, and it's keeping us at the forefront of the competition as well. Recruitment challenges. You know, apprentices are hard to find, you know, especially good apprentices, you know, but I think once we show them a pathway and we show them a structure, I think we can attract them and keep them. They need to be flexible, multi-skilled, need to be confident now to work with automation. I think that's the next step change for Kent, is we're going to see it at least cooperating with robots, maybe not full robotics, but that's coming, and you know, we have to build that into our selection process over the next kind of 5 to 10 years. And quality demands are increasing. You know, and again, I would feel that our industry is probably not good at showcasing some of the careers around manufacturing, and that's a gap we need to address over the next few years as well. You know, we need to address that right across the country. You know, I suppose some other initiatives that we've undertaken in the last kind of 12 to 18 months is we've updated our planning and operational system. We're moving to a full visual management system. We're moving to a kind of a full live scheduling system to where we can ban stuff into the manufacturing area, and just make sure once you get your project slotted into a time slot, we can pretty much guarantee that it will arrive to you on time. You know, that's the full schedule and capacity management system. And again, we have a lot of training do around that as well, and around getting everybody kind of working in the right direction and making sure that we're doing work that's at the right time. And a lot of the lean principles that we're going to be implementing over the next year or so, like it does that for us, you know. Like again, our ethos is quality, efficiency, and you know, with a good employee experience, we've got to be efficient in producing quality first time. You know, we have highly skilled craftspeople. We have very, very good process flow now with our scheduling system. You know, we have that underpinned with state-of-the-art equipment and design software. And look, we're managing through a quality MRP system and a visual management system. And you know, the next step is to make sure that our supervision and our managers are professionally educated and have the experience to get the work done and to meet the customer demands. You know, I think that's about it for me now. As there's just one slide there, just showing you a little bit about where we're going with visual management, and I think it's important there that we keep all our employees informed of how we're doing on a daily, weekly, monthly, and quarterly basis. And that's just a snapshot of some of the graphs and some of the visual aids that we're rolling out. You know, so I hope you got something from that in terms of skills and how we're managing skills, and give you some confidence that we can meet your needs going forward.
That's perfect, Michael. I'll take the screen there again.
Yeah, no problem. I'll stop sharing now. It's done there now.
Perfect. So look, what I'm going to do is just show a particular product. Look, we have in this range, we have probably 500 or 600 products if you go back through the years of not just for public realm, obviously, but for all the industries across the board. I mean, if you look through our website, there's probably close to 600 products in there. So what I'm going to do is just take one of those products and I suppose show you how we come up with that product, show you what it is, and you know, you'll see the innovation in it, and you'll see the benefits of having everything that Michael has just spoken about it there, and how we get to this stage and get to the finished product. But like I said, especially for public realm, we've just seen a huge growth in this area where you've got shared surfaces, you've got paving areas like this where developers and councils are trying to offer an accessible shared surface where, you know, they can open it up then and have events in those areas when at certain times of the year, or what we've seen in the Middle East a huge amount of is food trucks and having events on the street. So although it's a street, it's a shared surface with traffic, you're still able to use it then for events and for outdoor events. So, you know, really opening up, making it more accessible to everybody and an area that everybody can use then. And I suppose the issues that we've seen over the years, and you know, we've all seen kind of areas like this where you have mini pillars, feeder pillars, you know, necessary service equipment that is on the street, that is, you know, powering street lights. In some cases is used for tram systems, or even things, you know, like traffic lights and necessary services that have to be in the public realm. So our challenge is always to reduce this visual impact and remove as much as this as we can and place it underground. And that's where the kind of the source of this in-ground power unit came from. So what is it? I suppose first of all, it's that, you know, environmental and comfort factor. So you're taking generators, you're taking noise pollution out of the equation and making an area as comfortable and as environmentally friendly as possible. The health and safety factor, you don't need any special training or anything like that to use our product. It's a very simple product to use. You know, you don't need, as I said, you don't need an operation and maintenance training. It's a very, very simple hinge cover to use. Why it's come about, and I suppose where the drive for this product has come from is as I said, this shared surfaces, and you know, you're implementing public realm strategies, and you know, you need power, you need accessible power in these locations most of the time, and we've just seen a demand, especially in London, especially in the Middle East, for this type of product. What we've come up with in the last kind of couple of years is that we've actually included within the unit a system where you can actually generate revenue from the in-ground power unit. So by installing the cover, there's obviously a cost. You have to buy the unit, you have to install it, but we build in a meter now into it, so you can actually charge the end user who's using the power. So we've seen typically after about 6 months, you've recouped the installation cost, you've recouped the purchase cost, and then you actually start to generate revenue. So that's been a big addition to the unit. Benefits of it: the usage area, as I said, you know, you're always trying to hide that as much as possible in the shared surface. You've spent probably hundreds of thousands of euros on paving and installing that and designing it, and then, you know, making sure that that surface is consistent and a nice flat surface. So removing upstands from the surface is always a big key of what we're doing. Load bearing, obviously, in these areas, you know, it is a shared surface, so typically you will have fire trucks that can drive over this, or emergency vehicles that will drive over this. So we test that and manufacture that to EN 124. Power requirements, you know, typically we will see single phase and 3-phase within the boxes. And what we've seen in the last probably 5 years really is an emergence of including data points and fiber and audio socket outlets in the box as well. So what the data point allows you to do is to create Wi-Fi hotspots in that particular area. Again, obviously making it very user friendly, the whole area. But it also allows vendors to do cardless payment and contactless payments as well. So it's a big benefit to have that in such an easy location. A single in-ground unit can be used to, you know, power many different applications. So it can be used for maintenance. You know, that socket can be 3-phase or single phase, but it could be used for things like power washers for maintenance, and then obviously for vendors or street traders as well. So multiple uses from an individual product. We obviously, putting electrics underground is difficult, but we make sure, you know, that everything is IP67 rated and tested, and we use electrics from, you know, only from reputable sources. So we use companies like MK and Schneider for RCBOs and things like that. What we've then seen, probably the first one we did about 10 years ago, was a potable water supply. So while you need access to power, in many cases we've seen where we've been asked, can we supply potable water as well? So the same people that are asking for power are also asking for potable water. So what we're trying to avoid and what we're trying to get away from is this type of setup. So you see here a mini pillar which has been bodged, for want of a better word, to allow access on the outside of it with sockets. Because it's a hazard, it has to be fenced off. So you're using up a huge amount of valuable space here. That could be used for seating or planting or tree grills, something like that, and just generally all around just a poor design and poor setup. Again, something very similar. So where you're using, you know, a mobile generator, that obviously needs to be fueled, needs to be wheeled into the area. You then have to cordon that off as well. So again, using valuable space in an area that could be much better served. We see this an awful lot, creating trip hazards. So where you've got something like a chamber in the ground, you know, obviously not a very pretty cover, and then you're running cables from that chamber, which in itself becomes a trip hazard. So although while the paving and you know, some details are quite nice here, quite neat, this seemed to be kind of an afterthought. So that's what I said at the very beginning. We always try and get in early on the project, so to design out issues like this from an early stage as much as possible. And then, as I said, the health and safety issue. So we're all too familiar with this kind of setup. So, you know, this is really what we're trying to get away from and avoid at all costs. So I suppose what it looks like then in real life, I'll just skip through a couple of these just to move along. So the unit we developed is this unit here, which you see on screen. So I suppose what might not be clear is that this is about 500 mils below the finished floor level here. This is a recessed cover that you can see just the depth of the frame here. So this cover is infilled with the same paving that you see here. You open the cover, and that then gives you access to the power underneath that cover. So a very simple single person operation. So this probably weighs in excess of about 200 kilos, but because of these lifting rams here, you can see one here, but there is another one on the other side. It's just, you just can't see it there. But the actual operating force is about 7 or 8 kilos. So very, very simple to open, very simple to use. What will happen then is the user will come along and plug into the plug here, but then they actually close the tray down during operation as well. So you can see here there's a cable exit point. When that's not in use, you've got this little cover here which blocks off that hole, so it's not a trip hazard, or it's not a trip for high heels or anything like that. But during use, this area is allowing the cables to come out. So it is literally in this position for whatever it takes, 30 seconds to a minute to plug in the plugs, and then you close it back down again. So reducing that trip hazard. Again, just showing the data points here. So single phase power here with data points, but again, you can see the recessed access covers in the background here, and the lines of paving. You can see the cover matching the lines of paving here. So again, getting in very, very early stage with the landscape architect and with the contractors to match this frame size to exactly the cut lines on the paving. So that's quite a simple thing to do for us as a company. It's not for every single company, but that's just the way our company is set up. As Michael had said there, with the amount of designers we've got and engineers we've got, and the fabrication skills that we have, that's just the way our company is set and where we've been going for the last 10 years. So similar to the very first image I showed you there, this is the cover in the closed position. So again, always trying to reduce this visual impact that we put in the shared surface or the finished floor level here. So even a simple thing like the thickness of the steel here. So having BIM software and having 3D SolidWorks software allows us to do structural testing on a product like this, and this applies across the board. So by being able to do that test, we can reduce the thickness of the steel or increase it as the case may be, but we're always trying to decrease it. So if you didn't have that test, then maybe you might increase this by 25%, and then you're increasing the visual impact. So everything has a knock-on effect. So our ability to be able to accurately test this to take a B125 or D400 loading impacts on the thickness of the steel that we use, which then impacts on the visual impact. So quite a simple thing, but just has a knock-on effect to the final project, and that's why we always like to get in early at design stages. Here we have a shallow unit. Again, this was a particular project where they had a high slab. So there was an underground car park here. So the slab was quite shallow. The build-up was quite shallow. So this unit, the first unit I showed you, was about 500 millimeters deep. This was less than 200 millimeters. So again, designing for a specific issue on that site. So keeping all the other parts of the cover of the product, so it's still recessed, still locked down, still has the hinged cover, but just reducing that depth so that they were able to install them on this specific site. How it looks like, as I said, in actual use then in operation. So here, very typical, a food truck plugged into the unit. So this just shows that the unit is closed in that closed position during operation. So what would happen is the operator will come, open the cover, plug in, and then close it back down. Okay. And again, just showing that kind of a close-up of how that works in real life. So the idea, as I said, we're always trying to reduce our impact into this shared surface. Okay, and just to show you how it actually opens. So you've actually got a slam lock and a secondary lock here, which is for just holding down. And as I said, this particular cover probably weighs, this is a little bit smaller, so that's probably about 100 kilos, including the infill. So you can see it's quite easy to open with the lifting points. We didn't actually put these data points on it. The customer put them on himself afterwards. So not the prettiest thing, but it's functional and does what it's supposed to do. You see the single phase power here and the RCBOs and isolators that go with the sockets. And then the close is just simple. You're using your body weight to close it. Now the infill here is obviously pretty poor. It doesn't match the surrounding floor level, but we would always supply the covers empty and they're infilled then by the contractors. But just gives you an idea of the operation. Okay, and secondary to that, then, like I said, the potable water unit, and you can see that again, what you're trying to avoid is an issue like this, where you have an upstand, you have something that is proud of the finished floor level. Again, cordoned off because of the cover here is a trip hazard and is a health and safety risk. So how do you avoid this and how do you get away from this? And so basically what we came up with was a very, very similar unit to the in-ground power unit. But instead of having power within that unit, you have a bib tap, which is connected then to the potable water supply. So in this particular case, they would have incoming power supply to our unit, but they would also have incoming water supply then to the unit. And for this project in London, they actually had a grey water outlet as well. So you have power in the centre, you have potable water on one side and grey water on the other side. Again, just to show you the level of detail, but this area here that I'm pointing to and this area here are just voids on the overall unit, and their whole purpose is to match the paving line here. So they were designed into it for that specific reason, so that they would just drop into the paving lines and match the paving lines as closely as possible. Again, reducing that visual impact as much as possible in the public realm. The benches that you see in the background here as well, some of these actually have power supply built into them as well. So there is hinged access covers on some of the benches, or hinged parts of the benches, which we designed as well. So we have a huge range of products, and it's impossible to show you them all in a short time frame. So we do a CPD on all these products, going through kind of 4 or 5 different areas and showing the process, getting from design all the way through to final installation. But I hope you can see the innovation in what we're doing here. This is a concept, and that was developed about 6 months ago, and is actually in fabrication. The rendering here doesn't actually do this any justice. This is about 1.5 meters square by about 1.2 meters deep. So a very, very large unit, very, very specific for this particular project. And what they're trying to do, or what they are doing, is they're putting this feeder pillar underground. So doing away with the first image I showed you, where you have those feeder pillars and units above ground. This is the first time we've made this, and we really hope that this is going to be something that's going to develop over the next couple of years. So the idea is very similar to the in-ground unit, just a much larger version of it. This obviously hinges closed, and you have the same idea that you're paving through it. This gives you some idea of the scale of what's been manufactured here. But the big difference is here that this is IP68 rated. So this is flood rated for up to a week. So this can be submerged for a week without any water ingress into it. You can see a huge amount of interface for cables here. So incoming cables, various different types of cables coming to this feeder pillar. So like I said, this is the first time we're actually making these. We're making 2 at the moment. And without the kind of processes and the capabilities that Michael spoke about, and the history that we have, we just would not be able to develop products like this. So this is a real good example of how that actually turns into in practice. Another area here, I'll show you some very quickly, some just from other areas. This is a pneumatic drain that we developed for pharmaceutical products, but again, just to give you an idea of the scale of what we're doing. So this is a drain that would typically be removed by hand, but we've developed a pneumatic version of that for the pharma industry. That was developed about 20 years ago for Pfizer's, and has now been shipped to Singapore. We've shipped to North America, Canada. A very specific product, but mainly used for pharmaceutical bio-waste products. And there's some other products here then that we've developed over the last probably 10 years, which is fire-rated access covers. Again, just to give you a feel for the innovation and the design that we're always working on. So this was a very, very large access cover, about 4 meters long by 1.5 meters wide, and you can see here the hydraulic rams doing their work. Again, the whole idea here, like the very simple access cover I showed in the beginning and the in-ground units, is to reduce as much impact, as much visual impact as possible in this paving area here. So things like the hinges built neatly into the frame. You can see this is operating quite quickly for the size of this. So about I think about 24-25 seconds to go from fully open to fully closed. And when it is closed, a very, very small visual impact on the cover. So not something you're going to see on every single building site in the country, but it's a very, very unique product, but designed from scratch with the architect, with the landscape architect, with the consultant engineer, and the end client. And this was a major project out in the Middle East that we did a couple of years ago. Okay, again, a relatively simple product, but what's, I suppose, slightly different to us from our competitors is that some of our competitors can do heel-proof grills and some can do 44-ton trucks that will take loading. But I think we're the only people in the UK and Ireland who can actually do them that do both. So they can be both heel-proof and take the full loading of a 44-ton fire truck or garbage truck, as is shown here. And again, always trying to reduce that visual impact. So maybe 15 years ago, they would have built an upstand here, maybe put bollards around the grill to prevent people walking on them. So just, trying to get away from designs like that so that you're keeping that shared surface. Hidden slot drain is something, again, quite simple compared to something like the hydraulic or fire-rated covers, but just a simple thing that we were asked to do one time. So they didn't want to see any steel at the finished floor level. So just literally using the paving as the actual throat for the slot drain. So keeping the steel down below the paving slab. Okay. So that's pretty much it. I think we're bang on time. Yeah, just about 50 minutes. So I hope that's given you a bit of a flair and a bit of a taste for what we're doing here, and the innovation that we bring to fabricated products and designing these specifically for public realm. As I said, we do have a full CPD presentation that we do ourselves as well. We're doing these all the time. So if anyone's interested in that, just let me know. We can arrange that as well. So
yeah. Again, thanks, Clara. Yeah, just again, lads, to thank you for today's presentation. Great that you could get involved and just share what you're doing. It's it is fascinating work, and even some of the points I took off, especially Michael, just in relation to training, and as graduates come in, like just having a pathway and a training plan in place for them is just so attractive, you know. So, and again, as you say, like developing the relationship with colleges, lean management, looking again the focus on professional development, which is something I suppose in the Southeast region as engineers we're really focused on. And I picked it up as well, William, that I think you made a veiled invite for a factory tour as well. So
yeah, absolutely, our doors always open. We love having people here because you wouldn't believe the amount of times it's led to something happening. People walking in, seeing something being made, and say, "Geez, I could have done with that 2 years ago," or "I need that, but I need it slightly tweaked," or you wouldn't believe the amount of times that happens, honestly. So we do it all the time. We do. Enterprise Ireland, I have to say, are very, very good. They have a scheme where we can bring buyers to the factory. So yeah, our door is absolutely always open for anybody. Once we get over this current issue, of course.
Exactly.
And just to say, if anybody does, I know sometimes it's hard for people to ask questions, maybe in a group, or they don't want to stick their head above the parapet. But just get in touch with us. There's not a problem if there's something needs clarification or more information on.
Yeah, I know we'll definitely take you up on that offer anyway. And even I suppose just with my Roadstone hat on, some of your paver manhole solutions are very interesting for our paving range. So we'll definitely talk again on that one. And I suppose on an ongoing basis that every time I look, we're supplying more concrete down to you, so you're continuously expanding, which is great to see, So
we'll have to increase the price of the access covers then to get some of the concrete right back.
Exactly.
Nearly finished. So, we're nearly finished.
Yeah, I know. Never be finished, lads. Keep going, So, but so yeah, look, thanks again. And as a business, I wish you every success into the future, lads. It's fantastic, and it's like you were a great fit for our webinar series, and it is showcasing engineering excellence in the Southeast, and it's amazing, as I say, what goes behind the kind of closed doors of factories in the Southeast. Some great work going ahead, So, so I'd like also just to thank everyone for their attendance and interaction today. Also, special thanks to Sinead Quinn Phillips up in Clyde Road, who set everything up, got everyone registered. Also, a special thanks to my fellow members on the Southeast Region Committee, so their brilliant work in putting together the great content of our series throughout the year, and especially for Lara for arranging today's talk. So we have 2 more webinars this month to look forward to. Our very own Derek Sinnott. Derek is presenting in a collaboration with the Project Management Society on the 25th of March, and it's at 8 o'clock, and it's Lean and the Project Manager. So that might be of interest to you lads, just in lean management.
Yeah.
And then another collaborative event, this time on the Sustainability Grand Tour. So we're doing the Southeast Greenways, and that's on the 31st of March at 7 o'clock. So again, I'd say no doubt opportunities within all these greenways for some of your products on the urban realm. So as I say, plenty to look forward to. So thanks again, lads, for joining us. Thanks everyone for your attendance. Watch your alerts, and we'll see you again soon. Thanks a lot.